Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Business Weekly with your girl. This is your go to spot for real talk about business and building businesses that last. I'm your hostess with the mostest, your drip strategist, and your boss methodologist. And today, we're uncovering a secret enemy that's lurking inside many entrepreneurs, and that is self sabotage. Now, despite their ambitions, many of you are unknowingly holding yourself back from your own success. So I want you to stay tuned today, lock in for 30 to 40 minutes, and let's learn about the top behaviors that are stalling your growth and how to break free. As always, you are welcomed here at the Love Bay Family Afrobeat Music Talk Radio each and every Thursday. We bring this show to you because we are always about raising the profile for all of our listeners who are running businesses. Now, I want to talk about self sabotage from a couple of different lenses before we jump into some of the top things that I'm finding and other coaches are finding, and more importantly, what entrepreneurs are sharing. We all self sabotage. No matter how well we are in business, there's always a point in our lives where we have to take a step back and look at why our businesses are not growing. And for some things, it could be operational, it could be sales, it could be finance, it could be marketing. But for the most part, it starts with something that I coach on very dearly to my heart, and that's knowledge, skill, and capacity. A lot of times when I get to meet with people, even before they become my clients, the first thing I ask them is, are they ready to build an empire? And when we sit down to talk at our clarity call, I like to ask them I like to share with them actually three key things that I'm going to do. And the first one is I'm going to show them the demands of their passion. Now, as a DRIP strategist, which stands for Drive, Resilience, Innovation, and Progression, I talk about that first and foremost because a lot of people don't even understand that running a lemonade stand could be just as stressful as running a Fortune 500 company. Why? Because it starts with the CEO. And so the first thing on our agenda when we meet with my clients is the professional and personal skills. Where are you challenged? Where are your strengths? What do you see your opportunities and weaknesses are in order for them to actually grasp where they're actually sabotaging themselves? The second thing I like to do when I work with somebody is teach them how to teach them focus and foresight. We have to be aware that these things are going to happen, and we can't be in a space where we are in denial that sometimes what we do can hurt us. And so when we look at our competition, or we're looking at our family or our support systems, our friends, whatever the case is, we tend to try to make it somebody else's fault. We want to scapegoat the situation and say, well, if I had more money, if I had more resources. But the reality is, if you had more drive, resilience, innovation, and progression, you can really take your business to the next level. So let's get into some of the top behaviors that stall growth. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to break free. As always, I encourage you to make sure you're subscribed to the Love Bay channel, not just for my show, but for all shows on our platform. I encourage you to tune in, hit the replay if you miss part of the show, because I really take some time to start working on where I have found to be the root of many injurious things in people's businesses. And that typically is themselves. I mean, Ludacris had a great line, move blank, get out the way. And I think sometimes that's what most people do to themselves. So let's drop some of the what's. If you have some, please share. I'm interested to know what your sabotage is. But doing my research, I came across a few that I really thought that I hear a lot all the time. But first, let's ask, what is self-sabotage? Well, that's when your own actions, your belief, your habits unknowingly hinder your progress. And that key word, unknowingly. So sometimes you don't even realize you're sabotaging yourself. For example, didn't like I would be getting tired at the end of the day, like because I go hard. Like I'll be up from 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, pounding the pavement. Shout outs to my girl, Tara Vegan Cuisines in the building. Hey, girl. Right. And I used to go a full day and come out and be like, babe, I am so tired. Like I just pass out on the couch. I am sitting down to watch a show with my kids or something. And 90% of the times the credit and the show is watching me. And I wonder to myself, you know, why am I always so tired? And I took it as, well, I'm grinding and I'm building a business. Sometimes I was building two or three and I was working. But the real sabotage was I wasn't eating properly. I wasn't taking care of myself. I had stopped working out regularly and unknowingly thinking that I had to put my all into my grind, that I forgot to grind on the things that were keeping me healthy enough to run two businesses, raise two kids, be married, and work a full-time career. And so when you think about these pieces, the reflection has to be around not just generally what you're seeing physically, but internally. Are you taking care of yourself? Are you doing the right things in order for your business to progress? And most of the time, sabotage is usually driven by fear or limiting belief or perfectionism. Now we know that one could be, and put a which one in the chat if these apply to you. Put them in the chat. Are you having limiting beliefs that you cannot? Right? Or perfectionism. I have to wait till it's perfect before it goes out. My son and I had this conversation the other day, and I said to him, well, you've been making a lot of music, and, when are you going to release something? And he said, Mom, I have to get it just right. I got to get this and I got to do that. And I got to, and I said to him, well, think about it this way. What you might think is perfect is very imperfect to somebody else. So put it out there, right? And he said, he turned around and he said, Mom, I never thought about it that way. And I said, yeah, because, sometimes we wait, and I've been at fault at this too. Sometimes we wait to make it just right. But guess what? We don't know if our market's going to adapt to it. We don't know if our target demographic or our customer avatars are locked into what we think is perfect. And so the reason why we serve people is to find out what they want. We can anticipate their needs. We can say, that through our pain points or through enhancement, this is how we're going to help somebody become better or solve a problem. But most importantly, we have to first let go of it being perfect in our eyes and put it out there and let your market segment really mold that for you. So if you start recognizing these behaviors, the first step you want to think about is overcoming them. Okay, so let's think a little bit about the ones that you see here. Fear of failure, we just talked about. Perfectionism, imposter syndrome, we hear that a lot, right? We hear that, I don't, I just feel as if I'm supposed to be here. I feel as if I'm not really a business owner. Sometimes I feel like I'm faking the funk. Well, guess what? That's really not imposter syndrome. That's just real talk. If you're not ready, you're not ready. Okay, I'm just going to put a pause there, right? Don't keep telling yourself you're being an imposter. They had that whole phase, fake it till you make it. Well, guess what? That's just another way of saying imposter syndrome, right? When we start faking it till we make it, 9 times out of 10, I find in this day and age, nobody makes it because they're so busy faking it that they start believing their own hype. They start believing that, what they're doing is going to take them to their goals. And 9 times out of 10, that's just not happening. So if you're feeling imposter syndrome, take a moment, step back, sit down, take out a piece of paper and a pen, and put down, what are my strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? In other words, what do I know? What do I don't know? What do I need to know? And where do I learn it? And how do I get that information? Okay, what I don't know, what I do need to know, where I can find it, and how do I get it? That's important because imposter syndrome is just literally being something you're not. And if you have a craft and you're good at it, but you're not great, then take the time to put that self-development in place so that you can be great. Guys, what I'm talking to you here is not rocket science. This has been said in every YouTube short, Instagram, TikTok dance. You always see these things. Stay true to yourself, be authentic. Well, that's exactly what the imposter syndrome needs in terms of a cure: authenticity. If you are authentic to who you are, then you're able to not have to be an imposter because people are going to see you for who you are by your heart, by the words that come from your mouth, and the knowledge that you are consistently digesting in order to help them. The next is overworking and burnout. Now, this is a big one. I used to suffer with this one a lot. I can't lie. I've ended up in the hospital a few times because I go hard in the paint to the point where I developed anemia. Now, this is not now. This is when I was like 19 or 20 and I had 3 businesses running. And I said to myself, I just got to keep going. And in those days, there was no such, radio shows or talk shows or podcasts or all these things that talk about balance, or wellness coaches. well, maybe not in my world, there wasn't wellness coaches. It was like, we watched our parents work. We watched our parents get up, raise big families, work jobs. And mom was doing both, in and out the house jobs. Dad was doing round the clock working, coming home and taking care of the family. And, I grew up in a beautiful home. I grew up, in metro housing. I always say I love to see my roots, because that true song of starting from the bottom, now I'm here, is very applicable. We, in those days, just made it work. One of the women I hail greatly to this day, Georgette Dehaney, I call her Georgie P or Georgette D of the COC. She was one of the first women and probably person that I knew in my early age of entrepreneurship who actually was thrown into entrepreneurship without even thinking about it. But I saw her just scratch and claw her way. And guess what? She didn't know nothing about imposter syndrome. She didn't even know nothing about perfectionism. She didn't even know how to fail. At that point, it was just try it. And if it didn't work, then we tried something else. And so I learned very early that, but putting in the hours she was putting in, it really impacted a lot of things in her life, her social, because her social life took a hit because she was baking cakes and making gift bags and loot bags and every weekend. And she did that for 20 years. So if we want to talk about overworking and burnout, there's a person who had shown us how to not balance it, but go for it. But still, she had to recognize when she had to pull back and take a seat and just take a minute to really evaluate, was her pricing strategy right? So that she didn't have to bake as many cakes as she was doing when she, really equated her price to the market and really understood, or didn't understand, but tested it out till she got it. She recognized that she didn't have to be burning out. And so she got on a great track of building her business. Hesitation to delegate. Now, this is something that the type A's, we can sometimes get into a point where we're doing it all ourselves. In fact, now that I've, early retirement from my job, one of the things I had to get used to was doing it by myself again. I mean, shoot, I used to have assistants, I had full-time staff, I had part-time staff, I had colleagues, I had a massive team. And so I was able to be putting my hands in a lot and starting a lot and creating a lot. And I learned very well how to delegate, right? But it's tough for some people, because when you have that mode that I got to do all for me, then you run the risk of really not getting further in your business. The first thing you want to think about is getting that team. The first thing you want to think about is, how do I even delegate to myself? What's in my lane, what's not in my lane, and who do I need to talk to? Again, taking it back up to, what do I need to know? Where do I need to find it? How do I get the resource, right? Of course, all those answers are your girl, Miss J. Yayos. All right. And then there's the fear of success. Do you know some people are scared to win? Did you know that? I don't know if you knew it, but I'm going to let you know. I'm going to let you know those secrets. Some people are scared to win. Why? Well, they've never won before. They don't know the feeling. They don't understand that. You know what? Sometimes they don't even know they're winning, right? There's times when I have to talk to my clients and I'm like, why are you upset when you just sold this product or service you've been working on for the last 3 months? Why are you upset when somebody just said this is the greatest product they've seen or service that they've heard? And a lot of them said because they've never won before in that manner. Are you that person? Are you struggling with compliment? Are you struggling with kudos? Are you struggling with receiving your flowers? Are you always just thinking, what if it works? What do I do now? If you're hitting those, that is a fear of success. And I want you to be well aware that that can hinder you, right? So you want to ensure that the reflection that you're doing and you're practicing awareness, that's a massive thing for all CEOs. I want to push that back again so you can rewind it and hear it. I'm saying it with my chest. You have to practice awareness. Pay attention to the thoughts that, like, I'm not ready or it's not perfect enough. These are signals of self-sabotage, right? Track recurring patterns. Identify behaviors that repeat even when they hinder the progress, right? So what happens when something actually comes up that you can't solve and that you're having a problem finding the answer to? Then you have to identify those behaviors as to, how do I not repeat those things, right? As we talk about the impact that it has on your business, you have to remember every delay, every hesitation or negative mindset can result in missed opportunities, lost revenue, or stagnation. Even the most talented entrepreneurs can be their own worst enemies. I listen a lot to Gary Vee, great marketer. He's been in the game for such a long time, and I like to hear what he has to say because there's things that he shares that are very, very much relevant to what I'm talking about today. And one of the biggest things he says is most people who stop themselves is themselves, right? I like to say it's you versus you, right? 1v1. At the end of the day, you have to sit down and take aspect to who really lost the opportunity when it was standing right in your face. We talk about luck, good luck, good luck. Oh, you're lucky. You see somebody else winning? Oh, they're lucky. Oh, they've been given things. Oh, they had this. But guess what they did? They identified where they're self sabotaging. They took care of the problem. They went back to work. They got on the grind, hit up their hustle, and made the outcomes happen. Are you doing that? Or are you sitting down with victim mentality, telling yourself that it is everybody else's problem why you are failing? Taking a moment, put it in the chat if you are. Put it in the chat. Be honest with yourself. Quantify your losses. Ask, what opportunities did I miss due to hesitation or fear? Was I in a room? Did I go to an event that I paid for, got ready, paid for gas, paid for parking, went up there, bought a drink, stood around looking important with my three-piece suit, feeling hype, and then didn't talk to nobody? Did you ever have that experience? Drop it in the chat if you have. If you have gone to an event and you've never spoken to anybody, that's a great opportunity to reflect. What opportunities did I miss? And that room could have been in your next investor, your next sale, your next partner, your next collaboration. You don't know if, all right, unless you actually sit down and think about it. I want you to visualize. Picture what success looks like in your head and consider what sabotaging behaviors are blocking that image. All right, I'm going to ask my friend to take down the screen for a sec, because I want to talk a little bit about this visualization. Thank you, Mr. T. Mr. T, he's the best producer on the planet. I love working with him. I want you to visualize when you close your eyes. Do it with me. I know you're there. Do it with me. Close your eyes and think about what you want or what your business is going to help you get. Like when I close my eyes, I see stadiums, I see thousands of businesses who are thriving under my amazing coaching. Yes, that was me. And I see the house and the estate that I'm driving up to, and I see where, I have multiple and this, and I can go on and on because my vision's strong, right? But now I have to ask myself, what self-sabotaging behaviors are blocking that image? What's stopping me from getting where I need to go? And sometimes it could be emotional triggers, right? Fear is an emotion, just like happiness is. And sometimes you get so locked into thinking that, oh, hey, Convos with Carrie's, y'all need to pick her up. I think she's on tonight. Let us know, Carrie, if you're on. I can't wait to tune in. Is it Thursday or Fridays, Convos with Carrie. Can't wait to have her back on the show. So let's circle back again to the emotional component of it. We talk about emotions a lot. We talk about emotional intelligence. We talk about regulating your emotions. And a lot of people still have, especially CEOs who want to be successful, struggle with this because they don't understand which fears or doubts are most influencing their decision. Should I? Should I? Should I? What's stopping you from I need to or I am going to do? Right? I want you to really picture that, because at the end of the day, if you don't picture it now, it's going to be something. So I'm going to throw back up. Here's something you need to ask yourself, Mr. T. Let's get that screen back up. How to identify. Now, we talked about, things you should or shouldn't do, but now I'm going to teach you the how, right? We know what, we know why, but the how is the most important. Because at the end of the day, at the end of this show, I want you to be able to walk away and make it happen. You're right, Carrie, limiting beliefs, that's what's hitting you. I hear you, girl. Like, right? That limiting belief, I'm gonna take a second on that because that is a strong admission. We don't realize how much limiting beliefs we hold in our life. We don't realize, and we don't realize where they come from. When I was doing some research and I was writing an article on something, and it was around emotional, actually, it was a training that I was doing for my clients. And one of the things that I really enjoyed was and reaffirmed, things that I thought was, where does limiting beliefs come from? Now, I worked in camps very early years. Like, I worked in recreation for my whole career, my whole working career. And one of the things that I noticed and was able to study was children, because I worked in children camps, I worked in tiny tot programs, and then eventually I went into youth programming and older adult or adult programming, etc. But one of the things that I saw through a lot of observation was belief systems come from your environment. Now think about who you went to school with, who were your teachers, your parents, your siblings, your aunts, your uncle, your family circle. Then think about all the people that you were engaging with, not by choice, because let's be real, at 6 or 7, you're not running off to go do your own social calendar. You're going wherever mom or dad tells you to go, your church system, wherever it is. And that's where those belief systems come from. Now, I'm not saying they're bad, but you have to identify, where do my belief systems originate? What was nurtured in me and what became nature for me, right? Because if you can understand where those belief systems originated from, then you can challenge them. Maybe mom or dad, like I watch some people who have businesses and they tell me that, I talked to my uncle, or and I've said this before, I've talked to my parents or whatever the case is, and none of them are business owners. None of them have made, any significant impact in the business world. And you're following that information like Bible. You're like, they told me I should sell this. Well, why are you selling rocks when you're a water company? Just asking for a friend here, right? But the belief system holds strong because that's how you were brought up. You respect the people who taught you the things but you sometimes have a blind eye or the blinders on to realize that those people don't always know what's best for you based on the scenario as you get older. In this case, it's business. So those fears and doubts tend to creep up because you start to hit things that challenge you. You start to hit things that challenge your knowledge. You start talking to someone and that person may have more knowledge and comes back, and now you're lost and confused and you sit there looking like an idiot and you're like, oh, well, how's the weather? Kind of thing. So how do you identify? Well, first ask yourself, what am I afraid of in my own business? Right? What am I afraid of in my own business? Some people, when they say fear of success, it's because they actually have a really great product and people just start to attract to it and they don't know what to do with all of this attraction. So ask yourself, what am I afraid of? Am I afraid of the fact that I don't know enough about what I'm selling? Am I afraid of the fact that I don't have the skills to do, a service that I'm offering? Or are you afraid that your capacity is weak? Next, seek feedback, right? You want to ask yourself, or ask people that you trust, people that know what you're doing, and ask them, when you look at me and my company, what do you see? Is it clear? Is it concise? Am I communicating right? Do you get my message? Do you understand my mission? Do you understand my vision? Do you understand my philosophies? Do you know who I am, my values? Ask somebody that you trust and who will give you those honest inputs, right? Or call your girl. I'll give you honesty because it's my middle name. Okay. Next, monitor your language. I had a client the other day and we had a really great session on this. And I said, do you notice how much times you speak to yourself negatively? And she said, no, but I don't. I'm on the positive tip and da-da-da. And then 2 seconds later, but I'm not good enough, and I'm not this, and I'm not that. And then she stopped herself dead sentence. And in that moment, she recognized how negative she was talking to herself and undermining all of her wins. If you saw her flight, you would be so impressed, so proud. I'm so proud of her as a coach that I get to see how she grew, but how self-sabotage could have taken her back, could have regressed all of her successes and her wins. So monitor the language that you're using with yourself. I say give yourself grace. Sometimes you need to be firm with yourself. You need to let yourself know that you're not living up to your potential. You're not living up to your capacity. But on some notes, you have to say, I have put in the work. and I'm doing what I need to do to get to the next step. So those are three key things that I find very helpful when I'm building my businesses or when I'm building or coaching. I want people to know. Now, once you've reflected, let's talk about some strategies to overcome. These are practical tips, things you can find online, things that you may have your own list. Make your own strategy list. Throw a strategy up for me in the chat. Let me know, what strategy are you using to continuously fight self sabotage? Now, remember, I said to you, self sabotage can move differently through different stages, ages, and stages of your business. So don't think it's just always at the beginning. Sometimes when you hit that glass ceiling and your business is not going anywhere, that is a self-sabotaging practice that's not helping you to break the glass and continue growing. So here's some practical tips that I want you to think about. First, cultivate a growth mindset. Embrace failure as a learning experience, right? I love failing. I do. I love failing. I love to see where I have a gap, because then I quickly find, remember those three questions I talked about earlier? What do I need to know? Where do I need to find it? And how do I need to implement it? I want to say that again. Cultivate a growth mindset and embrace failure. You can't grow with a fixed mindset, because a fixed mindset, that means you're not leaving, you're not going anywhere. Shout out to Tripping Along. How you doing, girl? I see a W. Yes, wins for the W. If that's what that means, I'm gonna take it. It doesn't mean that that's what it means. Okay, but when you can find a gap in your knowledge, skill, or capacity, it's, celebrate that. Because you know why? It's almost like finding out why you have a cold, right? And you finally take a product that just helps clears up the sinuses, you're breathing, you're not coughing anymore. What do? You're like, oh, it feels amazing, right? And so the same thing when it comes to cultivating a growth mindset, you're looking for things to help you to continue developing your KSC. Next, set clear, achievable goals. That helps you to prevent perfectionism. I can't even say the word today. Perfectionism. There we are. From stalling progress. Now, in the P in drip is progression. And I love that word. And why I put it in that acronym was because a lot of people, they want to move forward, but they don't even have a plan to move forward. And so that clear, achievable goals, take a moment, write some down. Practice self-awareness. That's a big one, right? I am a big fan of that. Because why? The self-awareness and challenging your limiting beliefs and prioritizing self-care to avoid burnout. Remember, we spoke about that earlier, that there was burnout. Like I now, with me not going to the gym for a few days, I feel the impact. And whenever I get to Sweat Synergies boot camp on Saturday, I feel why I should be at the gym all week because her boot camp ain't no joke, right? But that self-care piece is really huge. And, I think you got to figure out, like, I'd say there's not a cookie cutter approach to this. You got to know how to take care of yourself. For some people, self-care looks different. Could be meditating, doing yoga, going to the gym. It could be having a conversation with a friend. It could be spending time with your family. Figure out what that is. Throw something in the chat. What is your self-care? Throw it in the chat. What is your self-care, thing to do that makes you feel? Mine's is heading down to the nail shop, honey. Give me some nails, a pedi, and some good lashes. That is at least 5 hours of just being pampered and not having to worry about nothing. And then I come out looking fabulous, honey. Fabulous. And if you don't think I look fabulous, just log off right now because I'm fabulous. All right. Delegate task and trust your team. Well, Miss J, I don't have a team. Yes, you do. It's called You, Yourself, and I. Okay. You can honestly, I tell my client she wears like 3 or 4 hats in her own business. She's the department head and the CEO all in the same step. And, the first thing she said was, yeah, I don't know how you do this, separating, all of these positions. And I said, well, when you learn how to delegate to yourself, you become a better leader, because leaders understand when they have to pass something on. And leaders also understand when to stay in their lane. Now, if you do have a team, let's talk a little bit to the bigger businesses here. If you do have a team, trust your team. If you don't trust your team, that is not their fault. That is your fault. I'm going to say that again. If you don't trust your team, that is not their fault. It's your fault. Why? Why? The question is why? Why do you not trust your team? Have you trained them enough? Have you, given them a platform to give feedback? When I had Chrisanne on the other day and we were talking about operations, one of the things we talked about was a feedback loop. How are you providing opportunities for people to share feedback on your systems, your processes, and sometimes your ideas and concepts? Are you having enough team meetings? Do you have proper agendas so that they understand what the direction is, where they're going, and how and when they're supposed to arrive to an outcome? These are pieces that a lot of CEOs miss, and why I, from the ground root, teach about skills, professional and personal, that drive your business. Because at the end of the day, if you are not leading your team properly, then you have a hard time delegating it because they're either not knowledgeable enough, you hired the wrong type of people, or you haven't put enough time in building their capacity. The next is visualize success and prepare for the responsibilities that come with it. Now, I always say, remember I said earlier, there's three things that I teach from: the demands of your passion, your focus and foresight, and pushing you past your comfort zone. Now, I say that because when we get to a point in our business, we start thinking about, we see a little money, right? We see a little money, we get excited, we start looking at the bank account every 5 seconds. Oh my God, we're not gonna sell. Oh my God, we're looking at the bank account again. And let me tell you, girl, do the damn thing. Shoot, when I was younger and I used to get paid in cash for doing like MC shows or emceeing a wedding and people would pay me in cash, honey, I would come home and roll in that, honey. Yes, the money is nice. What's the tea, right? And I enjoyed every ounce of it. But what were some of the responsibilities that come with the success? Now I had to ensure I had to ensure that, I always had to be on point, my hair, my nails, everything. Because if I had a show, I couldn't show up half ready, right? Or bigger responsibilities. The shows got bigger. I was doing award shows. I was doing conferences, hosting, and it was just the bigger the responsibility, the more money I was making, the more responsibility I had to be on point with my game. That's the same with every business. Once you start putting your products out there, you have to start realizing that people are going to hold you to an expectation. People are going to hold you to the responsibility that your product will stay at the quality that they bought it in the first place. The service will be better the next time they come and the first time they visit. Think of a hotel or a resort. Right? You get off the plane, you feel the heat, whoosh. When you come out of the airport, you're like, yes, I'm on vacation. And what's the first thing they do? They offer you on the bus. Do you want a cerveza or do you want a red stripe or wherever that you are? And if they offer whatever drink they're offering, they're going to offer you. Then you get to the resort. You pull up to this luxurious resort. And if you're not in a luxurious resort, I try a 5-star. It's very much needed to be an experience. But you pull up and there are people at the front where their music is going and they have these drinks on a tray and a towel to wipe your head. Just really think about your experiences. And that's how somebody who started that business visualized success. In order for my clients or customers to have a successful experience, we need to have it straight from the airport. We need to get that vibe going. So by the time they get to the resort, they're ready to just enjoy, right? So think about the responsibilities that resort manager has to be doing to ensure that everything is at, because the moment something's wrong, they're going to hear about it. Last, I want you to think about developing routines. You need to establish daily or weekly routines to reinforce positive habits and reduce decision fatigue. Do you know how much decisions we make in a day? A lot. I can't remember the number, but it's a lot, right? We make decisions as what to eat, where we're going, if and when we're working out. That's always decision fatigue for me sometimes, right? We think about what our business needs, what we're putting on social media, what our products, and I got to meet with this, have meetings, and I have to be at trainings, and whatever the case may be. So a lot of times we don't realize how much decisions we're making, but if you have a routine, then those things become what we call muscle memory or second. I know I have a show on Business Weekly, right here on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. So if you're just coming in, welcome to Love Bay Radio, talk shows that are giving you the most information that you need, because we all care as hosts and hostesses. But when I'm preparing for my weekly show, I always have to be looking, and sometimes I do get that little nudge, like, "Hey, where is your show script? Where, like, sorry, not your show script. Where is your your show submission?" And I had to really get on a better routine with getting my shows prepared and getting my guests and securing the information. And I didn't realize how big it was until I took it on. And they have so much faith in me. Thank bless their hearts. They believed in me. And they said, "Miss J, we're going to give you a show." And I started on community conversations. And then we talked about it. And I said, "I really love business." And they said, "Okay, we're going to give you a business show. We're starting a business show. We're going to put you in it." And I had to get on a routine in order for me to be productive and to bring information like this to you. Because sometimes when we think about our routines, I'm very routine oriented. I know where everything is so I can move efficiently through my home. If there is a pan in the wrong place, there's a family meeting and everybody needs to understand where that pan's going. Because when I'm trying to make my eggs, honey, I ain't trying to be looking for no pan. I'm trying to just open where the pan is, do it, and then keep it moving because I got things to do. So, what are your routines or habits? That's what you need to drop in the chat. Maybe what is a routine that you love to do, whether it's a self care routine or whether it's a work routine or whether it's a business routine. Think about that. And when you do that, you won't have to worry about making those decisions because everything is there. I hope you're getting something from this because I want you to win. I want you to succeed. And we know success comes when you have strategies. Oh, we're not here yet. I'm going to talk a little bit about this in a moment. Also, there's a few other things. I'm going to ask Mr. T, you could take this down. There's a few other things I want to talk about in terms of tips. I want you to find yourself an accountability partner. Choose someone who will challenge but support you, right? So when I have my accountability team and when I have my ideas, the first team I go to is my team. And I sit and I say, "Hey, this is what I'm thinking." And each of them have their own expertise. My brand officer, my media officer, my logistics officer. Sometimes I even bring in my finance officer. And sometimes I even bring in my boys, right? Especially my younger son. He's such a good listener. I'll tell him like, "Mello, this is what I'm thinking." And he'll be like, "Yeah, mom, that doesn't sound right." Right? So I find accountability. Find someone who's going to say to you, "Hey, I like where you're going with this, but what are you going to do with this? And what are you going to do with that? Who's your accountability partner? Call your girl. I got you." Next, you want to set regular check-ins, right? Schedule weekly or bi-weekly meetings with yourself. Review your progress and your setbacks. I like to do mine nightly. I like to sit at the end of the evening before I shut down my laptop, and I like to really look at, okay, what did we do today? Where were we successful? How much things did we not get done? And if I have, for example, 3 or 4 tasks left over, then I knew I overbooked myself. So now I go into my calendar and I start looking at how I can adjust my calendar to meet the ability to finish my projects on time. And sometimes it's about priority. It's about really checking in on what's needed to be done first. Some of you get so caught up on the concept and idea train that you don't leave any time for your operations, marketing, sales, and finance. And that is not going to help your business go anywhere but to the zeros in your bank account. Okay, so remind yourself to check in. Join mastermind groups. A community is something that will always give you the ability to grow. Why? Because you're meeting with like-minded individuals who are helping you and sharing their knowledge, skill, and capacity with you as you are to them. When you're engaging with entrepreneurs facing similar challenges, then it comes a great platform for shared learnings. Now, I want this to be a warning. I want this to be a warning that you have to ask yourself, just check and make sure that who you are connecting with is not a person with or a group that has a fixed mindset who are just all about the trauma and just want to sit and complain over and over and over again of all the things they don't have or don't have access to or whatever the case is. So remind yourself that you're looking for people who are positive, who are child and who are growing. If you all come together, and I love my client base because I learn so much from them. I teach them business, they teach me their craft, and I love learning. And because of that, that shared learning platform or relationship that we have gives me access to learning a lot on how I can build their business stronger. Last but not least, I want you to use tools. Employ apps such as planners or track goals and habits consistently. Okay. There's so much new AI tools out there. And even before AI was a thing, there was a lot of tools out there. If you're into organization, check things like ClickUp, Asana, Monday.com, whatever the case is. Check out apps that are going to help you become more organized. Check out your calendars. What are you using? Are you using your phone calendar, your Google Calendar, your Microsoft Calendar, whatever it is? Check it out. Your customer relationship management tools. Dig into that. If you're a service-based company, I urge you to really look into those pieces because they have literally synonymously made client care so simple. Although sometimes the back office looks like a jungle, it's really, once you get to know it, it really does help. All right, so I hope that you're getting these. If you haven't hit the replay, get your notebook out and have that conversation. If you're just tuning in, welcome to Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio with your host, Miss J, your drip strategist and boss methodologist. And today we were talking about self-sabotage and how a lot of CEOs and small business owners are self-sabotaging and not even recognizing it. So if you just tapped in, hit the replay, it'll be up after. And you really take in what, maybe identify what is sabotaging for you, and then how you're going to do so. All right. Wrapping up, I wanted to share some of the things that are happening in the empire world or just in the business world in general. So let's get the screen back up. In the empire world, I love promoting my clients because they are working hard. So CEO Roxana Muzamel, she is a fundraising coordinator. She has an amazing workshop coming up, a masterclass. It's a complimentary 60-minute masterclass. Now, it is on August 26th. And they're going to be talking about proven strategies to secure donors. So if you're a not-for-profit organization, please get in there. You just simply have to go to her website, or you can go to her IG, roxana.grassrootsfund, or you can go to her website, grassroots fund. Just do that. Just do that on Google and look for her. It's going to be on August 26th at 6 o'clock p.m. This flyer we had was a bit of a reschedule. But if you are a not-for-profit, or even if you are a for-profit organization, she's doing an amazing theme on how to convert contacts to contributions in 60 days. And all of the information that she's sharing is very relevant to how to convert contacts to sales in 60 days. So jump on that. Let me know if you need more information. Hit me up at empirebydesign_ on IG, and I will definitely share that information with you. Next thing that's happening is, let's go back to here, presenting Sweat Synergy. She's running her last outdoor boot camp for the year. She has 3 more sessions remaining. So if you are in the Brampton, Mississauga, Caledon, Vaughan, area, it's going to be held in Brampton. It's $20 per session. She's amazing. She does amazing work. You see her body, you would understand why you want to jump up in the bush and lift 2 tires and haul 2 weights, right? But she's all about your health and wealth, and I encourage every CEO to jump in and be part of that. And what else is happening? Well, our CEO, Letitia Thomas, CEO of Yaga My Locks, is going to be a featured speaker at Umoja Wellness Day. That's happening on August 30th between 11:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. She's on around 2 o'clock p.m. And so she's going to be talking about her entrepreneurship journey in her business. She is the first certified hair sprinkle tech in Canada. So I'm excited that, I get to coach a first. It's super exciting. But Letitia, love her energy. She's an amazing CEO, amazing woman. And, you can follow her on hers at Yaga My Locks and IG. She does her show Lock Talk Lounge. And so lots going on for Letitia, and excited that she's going to be speaking and representing entrepreneurs. Last up, we have the Afro Carb Fest. That's not mine. I don't coach it, manage it, whatever, but I had to promote it. Why? Because this is Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio, and that's what we do. We embrace and we support all those who are out there, promoting the culture. So if you have nothing to do, or you do, put it away. Show up to the Afro Carb Fest, August 23rd and 24th. 12 to 9 at the Thompson Memorial Park. That's in Scarborough. So if you're in Scarborough, jump in. If you're not, get on the road, take a little drive, get down there. There's live performances. There's a cultural parade. There's vendors, marketplace. There's food, dance competitions, the whole 9. So if you are not doing anything, please jump in on that. Ladies and gentlemen, where are we? Did I tell you 30 to 40 minutes? Okay, well, 44 minutes, but I lived up to my promise. I said to you, I was going to show you about self sabotage. If you are struggling and you do want the help, if you don't even think you have a sabotaging behavior and you want to know, come fly with me. Come check me out, your girl Miss J, your business strategist, your boss methodologist. Hit this, just scan. You can get me on IG. Hit me up through Love Bay. They'll contact me and let me know that you're looking for me. I encourage you to come out. I want you to remind yourself that everything that you do, when we talk about, I do this for my kids, I do this for my, generational wealth, et cetera, it's it's admirable, but I want you to be very clear about how you are self-sabotaging because it's a common obstacle, but it's one that you can overcome. When you recognize these behaviors and implement strategic change, then you unlock your full potential, scale your business, and achieve the growth that you desire. So go ahead, build your operational boss and make your business unstoppable. I want to thank you for tuning into Business Weekly right here on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. Make sure you tune in next week. This is your girl, Miss J. I want you to stay driven, stay resilient, innovative, and progressive. And as always, spread your wings and fly. Talk to you next week. And Safe Room is up next. Have fun with it.